Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be making a fun card that's going to be vellum and embossing. Wait and see, it's going to be loads of fun. Well, I don't know how much of this you can see because it's a clear stamp on my background, and I didn't know how else to do this because I'm going to be stamping on my clear background. So I figured this would be the easiest way, and hopefully once I stamp it and then get it inked up and put the silver embossing powder on it, let's just say in 15 minutes or so you'll be able to see what this is. But it's a floral background with looks like a hummingbird and just some birds in the background. It's very ornate and it's got a lot of spring flowers. I think those are irises in there. I could be making it up. We're going to take our vellum and we're going to lay it very gently over that, trying to center it. And then we're going to take our fingers and lightly rub over this while holding it in place with our hand. Let's see if we got any transfer. Oh, yeah. But what you have to do when you're going to use vellum and embossing, you really have to make sure that your gun is really super hot. And you're going to take it to your paper, then take it away. Take it to your paper, take it away, because otherwise you'll burn your vellum or you'll warp it to the point that you can't use it. And so that's my goal, and that's why I'm sitting with my heat tool on my lap while I contemplate making sure that I get every little excess little piece of powder off. Okay, so I'll show you how we're going to do this. Off, back on. Off, back on. So let me do this. I'm going to get my background, and the background we're going to use on it is black. I think, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I want to use black, and I'm going to use some new pens I bought because I wanted to try these out. So I decided that I wanted to buy some like clean brush pens, like the zigs. And so I went on Amazon and I started looking, and there were a whole bunch of different kinds. And then I went on Google and I searched what's the best set of brush markers that are out in the market. And this set, this Tanmit set came up as the best. And of course, you know, price for me is always something I look out for, especially for all of you guys, because I don't want you to pay a ton of money for things. If we can get things cheaper, that's great. So you get 60 of these dual tip markers, one brush, one fine liner, for I think it was $21. So that's not a bad deal when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. So that's what I decided I wanted to do, is get these. We would try them out, see what we think of them, and go from there. But I don't know if you know this, but when you color on, when you're coloring with vellum, you really want to color the back of vellum because it makes it a lot cleaner look, and you're going to want to use darker colors than you normally would use. Now, if you normally would color a bird like a baby blue color, you're going to want to go for a darker blue because in this case they're not going to be able to see that blue. Okay, first problem we have is I can't get the lid off. I got it. No problem. Hold off there. Okay, so we're going to use this, we'll call it turquoise, but there is no color on it. And I'm going to color, hopefully you can see this, I'm just going to be coloring this little bird, his head, and we'll see how much shows up when I flip it over. Can you see how pretty it is when you flip it over? So that's our plan. We're going to just color every place that we think we need some color. I'm going to use a purpley color for in these flowers, if there's any place in the flowers that will show through, because I can see a little bit of spots where you can see through them, but I want to make sure that we color so that we get some color to come through, hopefully. And again, we're scribbling, but that's not a big deal because, as I said, this is the back, and I'll flip it over so you can see what the front looks like. So there's only a little bit of that purple showing through on those flowers, and we can go back over those again and see if we can get more color to show. We just want to have color where we can get it. And I have another little birdie up here. That. And then I have a branch. I have a lot of little branches here. Let's see if this shows up at all. Flip it over, and if it's not dark enough, we'll go for a darker color. It's not bad. I think I'm going to get a darker color, though, just so we can kind of outline it. Maybe that's a lot darker. Good, we'll play with that one next. And I'm just going to run a line of that color through the center of our lighter one. And then I'm going to draw. I'm probably just going to have Rich fast forward through this, keeping in mind that these colors, there's no names on these colors, so I can't tell you what colors I'm using. I can only refer to them as light brown, dark brown, things like that, because obviously we got no color name system. I don't know why. It's done being colored, and I snipped off the edges. I don't know if you can see that I kind of mitered the edges, and the reason I did that is I'm going to lay it on this piece of paper, and I'm flipping it over. In case you've never played with something like a box before, or building a book where you have to make sure your book the edges are flipped over. Well, when it comes to using vellum, vellum is really transparent, and when you use it, if you have the glue on the front anywhere, you're going to see it. So what we're doing is we're basically covering like you would if you were doing a book. We're covering we're doing a cover. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If it doesn't, I'm sorry about that. And I'm just running my glue as close to the edge, as I can, so that we can fold this up. I snipped off those edges. I didn't snip enough of this edge off. I got to do a little bit more snippage. Yes, that's a word. Well, maybe it's not a word, but I made it up anyway. You know, I like to have a full vocabulary of words that make no sense to anybody but me. Okay, there's that one. I think I'm going to have to snip off the corners of these two, just because I can. And then we're going to pull that down just like that. And then there is our front. Now, I'm not crazy about it. I think it's too kind of plain looking. So I think I'm going to put some kind of banner or sentiment going across the front there. And I'm going to layer it up on this kind of idea. And then we're going to put that maybe on this. I can't decide. I don't think I like the color. I think maybe a black. I think I'm going to stick with that black background idea that I had before. So here is our card base. It's a 5x7. It's 10 inches wide, 7 inches tall, and then you score it at 5 inches, and that makes it a 5x7 card. I cut a white piece of cardstock to go in the inside so I have something to write on. Because you know, when you're doing a black card, you have to think about things like, what am I going to do with that writing part of it? At least I have to. Because somebody's going to want to write the inside of it, right? At least I hope they are. Okay, we got our paper in the inside. There's our white. It's a little off center, but I don't care. If somebody looks at that, I can always put a little piece of tape runner or something over that. I think I'm going to put some fun foam under our vellum piece. And then we're going to put this piece just on the... Come on, buddy, get out of there. Okay. We're just going to center this piece. I'm going to put that weird part down by the bottom. There's that. And we'll get our fun foam. I like to use colors of fun foam that blend with my card, so that you can tell this is almost the same color as the card. And then to cut the piece so it's right, I put it down on the inside like that, and I move the fun foam piece in about probably I'd say half an inch, and that way I can cut this edge straight without having any issues. And I know, I'm going to get that off there, and I know that when I do that I will be able to lay that down, and if I cut this straight, which right now it's not looking like it, you shouldn't be able to see it anywhere. So you see how that fit perfectly? I know you're shocked, aren't we all? So I'm going to use a little bit of wet glue with it. Well, not a little bit, a lot of wet glue. I like to use a pretty significant amount of wet glue when I'm putting fun foam on the back of things, just because the foam absorbs the wet glue and it doesn't like to play. In general, it has an issue with being a good sport, let's just say. So I put that much fun foam on, or that much glue on my fun foam. And I'm going to just kind of smear it around a little bit on there. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. I got a little on my finger, and that's why you have foam, because you can just stick it on you stick your finger right on there, and they'll never know that you use your foam to wipe your hand off. Going around the edges of this. I still have to put a sentiment on, and I still have to come up with something that's going to make the front look a little bit more frisky, because I think right now it's okay, but it's not as exciting as I want it to be, if you know what I mean. And while I'm thinking, I think what I'm going to do is lay something heavy on this, so my fun foam is having it's connecting to the card. So I'm going to put this little book on top, push it down, and then I'm going to grab a couple of dies and maybe a stamp, and I'll be right back. So I decided to use this hello set, and one of the sentiments in here is you brighten my day. So I've already stamped it on this black banner, and this banner die is from Dynamics, and the hello also came with that same stamp set. I think that's from Hero Arts. Yeah, from Hero Arts. So I'm just gonna put some of the same silver embossing powder on that, and also on my hello. Ooh, missed there. And then I got my pokey tool here. Then I'm going to just dig that hello out of there a little bit if I can. And turn on my gun. Now when you use these banner dies, I don't know how familiar you are with those, but they can be a little confusing to put on. So I think the easiest way to get those to be situated properly is to use glue dots and I'm using my new glue dot dispenser that I was sent from the glue dot people, lovely people, and these are big glue dots, which of course is not what I need, but I'm going to roll them in half. You probably can't even see what I'm doing, but I'm going to roll them like that, and then I'm going to put them underneath so that they're hidden under the piece that I don't want. I don't want that part of the banner to show, so you have to make sure, because the way these banners are made, they're angled, so you have to make sure you remember that when you're putting your glue dots down, because sometimes you can end up having your glue dots show, and it's not the way you want to do it, let me tell you. Then I like to put some fun foam under the center, so that, or foam dots, or whatever you call your foamy things. I like to put them inside there so that the center is also raised. I need to cut this down a little bit. It's too wide. Just so they're not as wide as the thing you're using it on. I'm just going to put these in the center like that, and then that way they don't end up, the center doesn't end up caving in on your card. When you do embossing on your sentiment like this, try not to get it on the back like I did, because oftentimes you won't be able to get it to stay glued down because the embossing powder is shiny and it kind of doesn't like to stick to things. It fights you. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to fight you the whole way. And we don't want that if we can avoid it. Okay. Here's my hello. I put it, in about a minute I'm going to decide not to even put the other sentiment on here, because that's how I roll. As you know, I can never make up my mind. I'm going to use the same corner rounder as I used the other day. That's who it's made by, and I bought it on Amazon. It's very inexpensive, but it has a small, medium, and large corner round. So it's nice because if you want a larger corner round, you have that option. Versus, just being stuck with one way of doing things. So should I just put that like right there, and then put this maybe on the inside of the card? I think that's what we'll do. What do you think? We could vote on it. I have glue on this already. I'm going to hold it down just for a second because it's wet glue. And I think the banner looks nice on the inside. And then we have the hello that we could put pretty much anywhere. And I'm just using Tombow mono adhesive. And I'm just going to take this and put the hello so that the black lines up with the black on the edge. Pull it down a little bit so it doesn't cover that flower as much. Hold it down a little bit. And I'm not going to put my normal stamp on the back because obviously you can't see it. So let's just get our envelope. I think what I'm going to do for my envelope is I'm going to use the same color markers as I did on my card, which is this one. And I'm just going to stamp. I have this, it's called a jagged petal flower, and I'm just going to stamp it with my marker. If you've never done stamping with a marker, you want to take your marker tip to turn it to the side, otherwise you'll ruin your nib. And you don't want to do that after you buy them, doesn't matter if they're inexpensive or not. You don't want to ruin them because of the way you're using them. It's called a string strand. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to have. So I'm going to take the string strand and just kind of strand it along. That didn't do as well because I didn't hold it down well enough. Good enough. And then the last thing I wanted to do is this little leaf, and we're going to do it in the same green as we did. I don't know what it's called. I think it's just a little fern. I have issues with sometimes remember to write down the names of my stamps. I try to remember to write them on there, but sometimes I forget. And that's that. So here's our card. It looks a little Halloween-y for some reason because of that moon, I guess. But I think it's kind of frisky. I like the way that the vellum surrounds that paper, and it makes it look almost like a book, kind of. And then the inside, you brighten my day. I had one of my friends ask me if I would make a floral card for her, and I said sure, I would do it. So I hope she enjoys this. I hope you guys liked it, that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.